Hello everyone, welcome to Everyday Essential series of Shantha Lakshmi IAS Academy, where we are going to discuss the important topics from the Hindu and the Indian Express. So today, as part of this series, let us discuss the topics of May 7th, 2025, where we are going to discuss the topics of Civil Defense Drills, India-UK Free Trade Agreement, and the Human Development Index. So moving to our first topic, that is Civil Defense Drills. So as you all are aware that on 6th May, Union Home Ministry has ordered all the states to prepare for civil defense drills on 7th May 2025. These exercises will be conducted across 244 districts across the nation by Directorate General Fire Services, Civil Defense and Home Guards under this Ministry of Home Affairs. So regarding this context, let us see what are the civil defense drills, what it includes and what is the impact on public. So first, what do you mean by civil defense drills? It is a preparedness exercise which is aimed at testing how civilians as well as government systems respond to emergency situations like war, missile attack, or any aerial attack or disasters. It also aims to assess the operational efficacy and coordination among the defense systems. And what these drills include? It includes the training of civilians. Training of civilians by showing how to protect themselves or defend themselves during any attack. And operationalization of air raid warning sirens. Also, operationalization of hotline or radio communication links to the Indian Air Force. It includes activation of civil defense services such as firefighting services, warden services, etc. And the fifth one is the activation of this crash blackout measure. So what is this blackout measure? It means that all the powerhouses or the lights will be switched off immediately, and then the citizens are trained how to ensure safety in those dark times and to avoid the detection by the enemies. It also includes camouflaging of vital plants or installations such as nuclear plants, thermal power plants, etc. In addition to this, it also includes cleanup of bunkers and trenches. Also, it includes the updation of these civil defense drills and rehearsals. Generally, the drills include the training of civilians, operationalization of air raid warning sirens, and hotline or radio communication links to the Indian Air Force, activation of civil defense services, ensuring the blockout measure, camouflaging of vital plants, along with the cleaning of bunkers and trenches, and updation of civil defense activities and rehearsals. So, are these civil defense mock drills are conducted in all the districts of the country? The answer is no. To conduct the civil defense drills, the Ministry of Home Affairs notifies the civil defense districts. And this notification is based on the recommendation of the Ministry of Defense. So by the recommendation of this Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Home Affairs notifies some districts as civil defense districts. For this May 7th mock drills, it has notified 244 districts as civil defense districts. So let us see what are these civil defense districts. So these are demarcated areas or regions where the government plans to implement these civil defense exercises. These are demarcated based on location, that is near to the border areas and the vulnerability to attacks, and the location where the vital installations such as nuclear power plants, defense installations, thermal power plants, and other vital installations have been installed, and also the locations where the critical infrastructure like key highways, railways, ports, etc. are located. So based on these conditions, the Ministry of Home Affairs will demarcate some districts or areas as civil defense districts to conduct these civil defense mock drills. And Ministry of Home Affairs notified 259 districts as civil defense districts. So here do not confuse, as part of this Pahalgam, as part of the 7th May mock drills, it has identified 244 districts. But before that only, the Ministry of Home Affairs has identified 259 districts as civil defense districts. It is also categorized into 3 categories, that is category 1, category 2 and category 3 districts. And the maximum number of these districts are in West Bengal, which is 32, and followed by 28 in Rajasthan and 20 in each Assam, Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir. So remember, the maximum number of these civil defense districts are in West Bengal on the eastern border, and in the Rajasthan, that is 28 on the western border of India. And in Jammu and Kashmir, it has 20 civil defense districts. And under what provision or under which act the civil defense drills are conducted? The Civil Defense Act of 1968 provides for measures affording protection to any person, property, place, or thing against any hostile attack, whether from air, sea, land, or other places. So, the announcement of this civil defense drills comes from the Civil Defense Act 1968. This act was enacted after this Indochina War of 1962 and Indo-Pak War of 1965. And this act only, this Civil Defense Act gives the permission to the government to regulate the procedure for conducting the civil defense drills. So as part of this provision only, the Ministry of Home Affairs has ordered to conduct the civil defense drills. So what could be the implications of having civil defense drills on public? They may be sudden power outages to enhance this blackout measure, and due to the activation of this air raid sirens, there can be the halt of vehicular traffic so that the people can lie down to ensure their safety. And there could be the evacuation of vulnerable villages also. And the Civil Defense Act 1968 has also gives government to restrict movement, impose curfews, control assemblies or gatherings, close roads, ports and transport services. Along with that, the government can detain or arrest a person without the usual legal process also. Additionally, the government can also acquire compulsory acquisition of property, requisition services, and controlling the supply and distribution of goods. Also, the Act also gave the government to regulate or censor communications, publications, and broadcast. So these are the impact on public. So this is all about the civil defense drills. And this is the second time the civil defense drills have been announced in India. The first time was announced during 1971 Indo-Pak War. Now moving to the second topic, that is India-UK Free Trade Agreement. So why we are discussing this? In a historic milestone, India and the United Kingdom have successfully concluded an ambitious and mutually beneficial free trade agreement along with a double contribution convention. The negotiations for this free trade agreement have been started from 2022 and it now came to an end with this India-UK Free Trade Agreement. So before going into the details of this India-UK Free Trade Agreement, let us know what is this Free Trade Agreement first. This Free Trade Agreement is generally an agreement between two or more countries which aim to reduce or remove the custom duties or the tariff trade barriers between or among those agreed countries. In layman terms, if we can say it is a free trade, it means there is no trade restrictions between both the countries who have agreed to this deal. So coming to the key highlights of this India-UK Free Trade Agreements, this agreement can boost the trade by 25.5 billion pounds a year from 2040 onwards. This will strengthen the bilateral trade between India and the United Kingdom. And India got the tariff elimination on about 99% of the tariff lines, covering almost 100% of the trade value. And India has agreed to cut rates on 90% of tariff lines from the Ukraine. India got elimination about 99% and India has agreed to cut rates on 90%. And coming to the goods and services, the whiskey and gin tariff are to be halved from current 150 to 75% before reducing to 40% by year 10 of this deal. So within the decade, the 75% should be reduced to the 40% current 40% tariff. And coming to the automotive tariffs, it will go from over 100% to 10% under a quota. Now let us see what is the significance of this India-UK Free Trade Agreement. This comprehensive and landmark agreement aims to achieve deep economic integration along with trade liberalization and tariff concessions. It also ensures comprehensive market access for goods across all sectors, covering all of India's export interest. This free trade agreement also provides positive impact on manufacturing across labor and technology intensive sectors and also opens up the export opportunities for this labor and technology intensive sectors such as textiles, marine products, leather, footwear, sports, sports goods and toys, along with the germs and jewelry, engineering goods, engines, organic chemicals, etc. It also improves Indian goods competitiveness in the global market. This FTA also eases mobility for professionals, including contract service suppliers, business visitors, investors, intra-corporate transferees, partners, and dependent children of this intra-corporate transferees. Also, the independent professionals like yoga instructors, music instructors, and dancers, etc. Further, this free trade agreement will promote good regulatory practices, thereby ensuring transparency in the trade market. So, what is this double contribution convention means? It is the exemption for Indian workers who are temporarily in the United Kingdom and their employers from paying social security contributions in the UK for a period of 3 years, which will lead to significant financial gains to the Indian service providers in the United Kingdom job market, which would create new job opportunities as well as benefit large number of Indians working in this United Kingdom. Remember, double contribution convention is with respect to the Indian workers and employees working in the United Kingdom and their social security contributions. This is all about this. So this is all about the India-UK Free Trade Agreement along with the double contribution convention. Now moving to our third topic, that is Human Development Index. United Nations Development Report has released a report, Human Development Report 2025, titled A Matter of Choice People and possibilities. In the age of AI. So as per this report, the Human Development Index has released, and in that India moved 3 spots, ranking 130 out of 193 countries in 2023. In this picture, we can see the progress of India in the Human Development Index. It scored 0.615 in the year 2014, and it scored now 0.685 in 2022. So what is this Human Development Index? It is a quantitative measure by the United Nations Development Program which measures the country's progress in 3 basic dimensions of human development, that is a long and healthy life, knowledge, and a decent standard of living. And this human development index can be divided into 4 types, that is very high human development. If the country scored between 0.8 to 1, it can be categorized as very high human development. And if the country scored between 0.7 to 0.79, it can be categorized as high human development country. And if the country scored between 0.55 to 0.70, the country can be categorized as medium human development country. And if the country scored below 0.55, the country can be called as low human development country. So coming to the index ranking of the countries of this Human Development Report 2025. Ireland with the score 0.972 points is ranked in the first place. And then comes the Norway with the points 0.970. And Switzerland also in the second position with sharing with Norway with 0.970 points. And in the fourth position, it is Denmark 0.962, Germany in the fifth position with 0.959, along with the Sweden, the Australia in the seventh position 0.958, and United States in the 17th position with 0.938, and India in the 138th rank with 0.685. So these are all high human development index countries. And by seeing this number 0.685, India can be ranked in this medium human development country. Now coming to the India's ranking. India's HDI has increased from 0.676 in 2022 to 0.685 in 2023. Its HDI increased by over 53% since 1990. That is the establishment of its HDI. And also the life expectancy rose from 58.6 years in 1990 to 72 years in 2023. Coming to the education, children today are expected to stay in school for 13 years on average, up from 8.2 years in 1990. India's gross national income per capita also rose over 4 times from 2,167.22 in the 1990 to $9,046.76 in 2023. This data was based on the 2021 purchasing power parity index in terms of dollars. And with respect to AI, India also stood as a rising AI powerhouse. With over 20% of Indian AI researchers now remain in the country, up from nearly zero in 2019. So these are all the positive progress of India. However, challenges persist. Those are inequality reduces India's HDI by 30.7%. Due to the inequalities in India, India's HDI has reduced by 30.7%. The income and the gender disparities exist. Female labor force participation and political representation also lag. So these are the challenges of India. So that's all for today's topics. Okay, hold on. As you all are aware that current affairs plays a major role in UPSC examination. Listening to the videos and reading newspapers doesn't suffice to crack this exam. There should be constant revision of topics and the practice of questions also. So, in order to keep you on track with this current affairs preparation, we Shantha Lakshmi IAS Academy has come up with this track WPT series, that is track weekly prelims test series, which is free of cost. So this track. So by joining this track WPT series, you can test, review, analyze, correct, and know your mistakes. In this track series, the prelims questions from the discussed topics will be given on every Saturday. So enroll this track series and stay on track from practice to progress to success.